Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. We are back with the first episode of the Debrief in, my goodness, I think it's been a couple of weeks now. We've had Sunderland, we've had Sheffield United, both sort of posing a threat to our scheduling on Monday night. So we're back fit and fighting for the run-in. Leeds United braced, as the t-shirts say. Listen, you can get them all on back4.com. Make sure you check Gav and the lads out, where you can get all of the merchandise available. The link in the description below. What's going on, everybody, in your world? I can see loads of you in the chat already. Hi from Brazil. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Make sure you're slapping a like on the video. Now, we've decided tonight, it's been Sheffield United, Sheffield United, Sheffield United, Sheffield United. We've decided to get the most famous Burnley fan ever on the stream, and we've decided to do that. So, you know, you need a bit of differential from just the Sheffield United focus. So we've got Liam Vizzer joining us for this one, and we've got our main man with the opinions that divide the most. It is Oscar. First of all, Liam, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, good, mate. But you may disappoint some people, because I swear the Kings are Burnley fans, so they may have thought you had royalty on board.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a more famous Burnley fan. Maybe
Jordan North is the only one you may think of.
What about the politician? Is it Alistair Campbell? Is he?
He's a Burnley fan too. So I'll take third or fourth. I'll take that. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, fantastic. Oscar, how you doing, mate? All right.
All good, mate. All good. I was thinking myself, famous Burnley fans. It's a struggle. I mean, I'm sorry to say, Conor, I don't think you're the third most famous Leeds fan. So I think Liam has got us there. I can't lie.
Damn it. That's something I can aspire to, mate. Something to aspire to. Well, fellas, what time, Liam? I think last time I spoke to you, mate, was about 3-4 months ago on said video. It's been a weird period. Leeds have kind of gone a bit of an assault of the Championship. It has to be said, post-January, of which obviously we did kind of last January as well. And then the Leeds thing happened. I've seen a couple of your videos as well, mate. If you guys don't know Liam, make sure you're checking out his videos. We'll leave his link in the description below after this, but I'm sure you're already subscribed anyway. But discussing sort of the standard of the Championship. And I kind of wanted to probe you on this today, mate, because obviously you've mentioned the Premier League and potential teams going up and not really being able to withstand the quality of that level up. Yeah, man, what are your thoughts on the Championship so far? What are your thoughts on the promotion running? And are you enjoying it is the main question, of course.
Okay, well, I want to start off with almost a question back to you in terms of, was the game against Burnley, what was it, a month ago, the worst game of football you've ever seen in your life?
Who are we blaming for that?
I'm not saying it's potentially your fault. I'm just saying, is that just the worst 90 minutes of experience of watching a football match you've ever had? Because
I was sometimes I'll do watch along. It's not really what I'm known for on here, but I was thinking about doing a watch along for it, and I'm so happy I didn't. I mean, just what would that have been? You know, terrible.
I was debating flying over for it, man. Oh my god, it's just. The worst part is it's been like that quite a lot with us this year. You know, 11 0-0 draws. This campaign is just, I think the record is 14. I think it is in this division. I think it was West Brom or something that did it. But yeah, it's been a really weird season because I think the company didn't help with Burnley, where it kind of feels like we expect a bit more from the players that we've seen can do better than what they have been. There's no surprise that Leeds are where you are this campaign. You've got I said to you earlier, but you would say, is this a better squad than you had last year, or is it a more balanced squad? Like, which one is it for you guys? Because I think from outside, I would say your squad is worse because you haven't got the kind of star quality in comparison to last year of Rutter and fucking hell, so I forgot his name, Somerville, and you also got Gray as well in there as well, and even Glenn Kamara. So, like, is it a better team or just a more balanced team?
Mate, just to start off with, we were watching the game, and for about 30 minutes, we proceeded to play noughts and crosses with the stream. So there you go. That's how exciting it was. Oscar, you were saying?
I think it's definitely more balanced this season. I think there's less star individual quality. You know, I think maybe in the game on Saturday, for example, the 1-1. Maybe last season you think of a Somerville and Rutter, and that have made a difference individually to win us that game 2-1. But at the same time, you go back to the Sheffield United and Sunderland games, that depth we've got into the squad, just being able to change a game with a couple of substitutions, go from being pretty terrible in both games in spells, certainly before we made the substitutions, to then just being, pretty unplayable at that point. That is the strength of the squad we've got this season. I think we have got, pretty much every position. It's outfield. I think we've got two really good options in every position, and that was something last season we definitely didn't have. So it depends which way you look at it. I think over a season, I think you'd rather have a more balanced squad. But I think maybe in individual games, sometimes Somerville and Rutter in the squad is nice as well. But I think all in all, I think the team is stronger from where it was last season.
Yeah, I think. I'm kind of there, to be honest. It's really hard to judge, Liam, to be honest, because you look at the league. There's no way it's as good as last season for me. No way near.
Yeah, I agree.
But what I would say is, like Oscar's kind of said, it feels a lot more balanced. We've got resources in areas that we didn't have resources in last season. And I've been weirdly, Liam, you've watched my stuff, mate, for a bit. And I've been weirdly confident with this bunch for kind of a long time now, which normally doesn't happen with Leeds and me. I always feel there's like impending doom on the horizon. So yeah, even I've got that sort of like overwhelming confidence at this moment in time. So I mean, we'll wait and see. It's not arrogance, but some may deem it as arrogant.
That's a question for that. Is that because of how good your squad is, or how you feel how good they are, or because of how bad the rest of the league and the other teams you're fighting against actually are?
That's a really good question. It's a really good question. I think, there's definitely a balance, mate. There's definitely a balance. I think, this point against this caliber of side, if you had Archie Gray, Glenn Kamara, Somerville and Rutter, would we still be at this point? I don't know. Maybe it is just the balance. I think we've won it off the bench a lot. You look at the Sunderland game, you look at the Sheffield United game. I think the depth off the bench has been unequivocally important. Yeah, I think we're all a little bit more confident because we know when it gets to those. I'll tell you what, Liam, here's a really good way of looking at it. At the start of the season, we had Alai Gruev and Ampadu as the starting defensive central midfielders. Both of those went out of the squad. Ampadu's really barely played when you look at the spells this season. You then had two reserve players at the time in Tanaka and Rothwell come in, and Leeds looked even better. So I think that's probably the best way of putting it, because if two of the players last season went out in defensive midfield, and let's say Glenn Kamara and Ethan Ampadu, we'd have been in big trouble. Big trouble. So I'd probably say it's been on that stance, really. I mean, Oscar, I don't know what you think about Liam's question now. I think it's a pretty good one, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. Obviously, as I've already kind of alluded to, I think in that terms of star quality, in terms of last season, we had probably 3 or 4 players who were contenders for sort of like player of the season in the whole championship. In terms of certainly Somerville and Rutter, it was a case for Archie Gray at times last season, a case of Joe Roden at times, certainly in terms of being the best centre-back in the league. But I don't know, it is a weird one this season in terms of where the actual league itself is at. I think in terms of the fight for the top end of the table, I think the depth of the quality is certainly less than last season, I do think. But I think when you look at, like, say, sort of the relegation zone, I think there's just a lot of teams in this league who are at similar levels kind of thing. I think there's probably 10 or 12 teams you can genuinely say, yeah, that's pretty similar to the other team kind of thing. Like, say, Bristol City and Preston, it's pretty similar in terms of quality, but they'll be at sort of other ends of the table. So,
like, there's no way, mate. There's no way. Like, I know Coventry have gone on a run. I know Coventry have gone on a run. Don't get me wrong, but aside from the 4 that are at the top, and maybe West Brom in there, who were quite impressive at the weekend, I feel any other side with the right guidance, probably from 6 to 12, could definitely go on that run. I don't think Coventry are just beyond any other side, to be honest with you.
I'm going to annoy Liam here, but probably make Liam somewhat happy as well at the same time here. Blackburn's a classic example. Blackburn, being in that top 6 spot is, obviously they've had a great season up to now, but when you look at actual individual quality, they probably shouldn't be that high, and that's just the league itself. If you're relatively well run on the pitch, you've got a decent tactical system, pretty much anyone can push the top 6, top 7, as you kind of already said there, Conor.
I think Blackburn are the absolute marker of the real standard in this division. I'm sorry. I'm a Burnley fan. They're our main rivals. I get it. They're shite. They really are.
Yeah.
The reason how they are fifth is a marker of how poor this league really is. Like, let's just be honest here. Of course, if you can get some decent form, which always happens every single year, Middlesbrough did that 2 years ago. I think they were like 18. Was it last year, actually? They were like 18th at one stage. Going to good form, second half of the year, they're in a playoff race. Everyone's laughing, right? Everyone's hoping. It happens every single year. So
Norwich Norwich were the other one, weren't they? Who just somehow got in there last season.
Yeah, last season was that under Wagner, wasn't it? So it's just the kind of division. And yeah, for me, Blackburn is the marker of like how poor this league really is. Because I mean, look, right. We kind of all established that basically all the teams that's in this top 4 race or top 3, if you don't really consider someone as part of top 2 anymore. Like, the reality is, the question is really to you, because I think if you ask a Sheffield, that's a Burnley fan, we'll get the same answer. But to a Leeds fan, if you go up this year, which you likely will, do you have any hope of staying up? For me, I would say no, and that's because of Daniel Farke alone. So hope you sack him soon, and you can hopefully get a manager that can work miracles. That's from an outside neutral perspective, because we all know the divide is still ever widening.
But Liam,
that's just my view on it.
But Liam, that's a really good point. But I think as well, it's extremely hard as a football fan, and you'll know this with Vincent Kompany. It is extremely hard. Let's say if you get a manager who gets you up to that level, to part ways with that manager quickly. To almost, you would say some parts of the fan base and some parts of the general media would say, that's going to give you a better chance. But from a fan standpoint, it's very, very difficult, isn't it, to part ways with that individual. I mean, looking back now, you and Kompany, you'd have probably gone, right, well, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you get rid of him because he's not going to be pragmatic in the Premier League.
I mean, it's like there's the track record of Farke. That's the thing. He's got a history. And I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of you guys. Do you think that he's learned from his past mistakes, basically? That's the real question here.
Well, I think there's two ways of looking at this. I think the first thing is the squad as it is now, even on the 3rd of March, would be, if we did go up, would be very different, I hope, anyway, by sort of the 3rd of August. A lot can happen in that time. Obviously, it's all well and good saying, sign 7 or 8 players. They've got to be 7 or 8 of the right players. Otherwise, you're just in the same position you were before you signed the players, really, if they're not improvements on what you've already got in the squad. So there is that factor. And the second thing is, and more to Liam's point about Farke, is managers do adapt, and hopefully, it's hard to say until we got there with Daniel Farke, whether he adapts to the Premier League differently to what he did with Norwich. We can't really answer that question until we got there. But I think we've kind of seen this season, we have kind of adapted the system a little bit. Certainly this sort of second half of the season, we have gone a little bit more direct than what we were in the first bit of the season. We're involved in more sort of end-to-end games. I think we're using sort of people like Dan James's pace more than we were probably at the start of the season. So there's a few things there. I think you look at people like, say, Sean Dyche, for example, obviously got relegated in his first season with Burnley, came back second time around and stabilised Burnley for, I don't know how long it was mate, was it
about 10 years, wasn't it? 10 years, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were there for 7 years in a row.
And it shows, you can adapt. Marco Silva, another example at Fulham, didn't really do much with Hull. Obviously, a little bit better with Watford, not so great at Everton. Managers do adapt. But the thing is, it's all well and good me saying that. We don't know if Daniel Farke will adapt until we get there. But for me, based on what we've seen in the second bit of the season, and our recruitment as well under Daniel Farke has been absolutely fantastic. I do genuinely believe that we've made, for the money we've spent, I think we've got incredible value for it. If you look at people like, say, Tanaka and Bogle, we will need signings like that at Premier League level, but you've got to be able to scale it up. And I do think under this recruitment team that we've got around Daniel Farke, I think we can do that. But of course, Liam, you'd have been lucky, you'd have been confident 2 years ago that Kompany surely would have done okay in the Premier League at the very least. And that's why I don't want to get too carried away, because that team was fantastic 2 years ago.
Oscar, everyone was. I distinctly remember.
I did not see Burnley going down. I thought it was Swansea.
No one predicted it down.
I think I did a table. I think I did a table predictor. I had Burnley 14th. I was like, "There's no way they're going down. No way. They were so good."
14th was the spot that everyone thought would be in. Yeah.
Yeah, 14th. Yeah. I mean, how you're not Liam? watched your stuff for a while, mate. I'm feeling this season you're a bit more disengaged from Burnley. Obviously, there was the company season. Obviously, you were very prevalent as well when Dyche was at Burnley, and it was almost it was coming to an end for a while, wasn't it? But company came in, gave you that sort of exuberance, didn't he? And that dynamic speed and just brilliance in the Championship, and that didn't quite work out. Scott Parker now. There's a question, Liam, that now Burnley are so defensively astute. Some would say that you're actually the more adaptable team for the Premier League because you are setting up in a way of which is going to almost sort of see you right in the Premier League if you are building up that sort of cohesive build at the back when it comes to defensive solidarity, adding a few members maybe back there with the Stev and Egan Riley, etc. If you can sort those fullbacks out, then you might be a real unit in the Premier League. Do you subscribe to that theory, or do you think the style of play has to be a little bit more inventive than just going up and ultimately defending?
I think that's the only way that you can look at it and for it to make sense. I think that's the only way you can look at the way we're playing and to think, okay, well, at least maybe if we are in the Premier League next year, that we can stay in games. We can stick in games, make it tight. If we're 1-0 down, try and get a 1-1 or keep it 0-0 for a while and try to get something from a set piece or a counter. That's the only thought process I can think of that can make it make any sense. The problem is we're barely scoring goals even in this level. If you take out just two of our first two results against Luton and Cardiff, we scored 9 goals in those 2 games. Most of those players in that squad ain't here anymore. Odobert ain't here. Amdouni ain't here. Most of the players aren't here that I can name off. I think 5 of the players of our main first 11 against Luton aren't here anymore. So if you take out those 2 games and let's say make it 1 goal each game, right? We're, I think, 19th in the league for goals scored. We are barely scoring goals even at this level. What makes you think we're going to score more in the Premier League? And our defense will not be this good in the Premier League. And Esteve, I think, is a player that I think can make a step up. And Egan Riley, for me, is a very intelligent player. Physically wise, I do have my concerns about him. I don't think even fullbacks can do it in the Prem. Roberts, we've seen, can't do it in Premier League. And Perez or Humphreys, I think, still can't do it. They can't do it, in my opinion. Trafford can make a step up, but let's be honest, Newcastle made us buy him anyway. So reality-wise, our defense won't be as good next year, and our attack is still dog shit. So reality is, I don't know what team I'm going to see next year because we can't score probably even now, and our defense will get worse. So, I just don't know what to expect. And look, seeing, 11 0-0 draws in the season for any fan is going to make you a bit miffed off of what you're seeing here. Because at times it is turgid. At times you don't know what you're looking at. At times it just completely fall apart and you have no idea why. I presume you guys watched the game against Sheffield Wednesday in the midweek last week, right?
You were there, dude. Good little look.
I was there, but did you two watch the first half especially?
Yeah.
We were poor.
Yeah.
We were really poor. How we won a game 4-0 was a complete mystery to me. We should have been easy 2-0 down in that first half, comfortably, right? But we've got, I guess, the only piece of good business we've done, realistically, that's Marcus Edwards in the January window, who has got that bit of star quality that can make a difference, which is what we desperately need. So I guess a question I could give to you guys, because I think we can all say Leeds are very likely going up. Right, you guys will get the top 2 spots because Sunderland, they won't be a competition, and realistically, it'll be between Burnley and Sheffield United for those top 2 spots, or the second spot especially. Which of these 2 sides do you think? Number one, do you want to go up with you guys, or do you think of go up with you guys?
Why are you that confident, Liam? About Leeds? I mean, you look at it right now. I mean, I'll be honest with you, mate. We saw some of the rivals celebrating after the sort of draw against West Bromwich Albion. Are Leeds, in your opinion, potential? I mean, look, I've got my opinions on Leeds this season. I know Oscar has, but when you look at Leeds, do you think there could be a problematic scenario with the last 10, 11 games, or do you think this season we're just a little bit too strong? Liam, sorry.
Is that to him?
Sorry, Liam. That's to you, mate.
Is that to me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I focused. I sport for quite a while, and I thought you wanted him to get involved. I'm sorry.
No, we'll keep him there.
Look, I get why you feel the way you do, because basically the greatest enemy of Leeds is Leeds, right? You guys have gone there more than enough times to go through that experience and to know that things can just randomly hit the fan. It happened last year. It happened time again before that. I get it. Was it what game was it? That was like an infamous game Was it Wigan at home or something?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I know. I keep in contact with you guys. I know Leeds quite well. Like it was like some game against. Did you lose that game against Wigan at home?
Yeah, we did.
To 10 men, 2-1.
So you guys have gone through that pain. That sometimes things just make no fucking sense and things just hit the fan, right? So I get that completely. The issue is, we're not that great, and I don't think Sheffield United are that great either. I think that we're both inconsistent in different ways. We'll just end up drawing at home to sides that we really should be beating. With like a home record this year, it's not been that great. And Sheffield United, I just don't think they're realistically all that either. So we're not Leicester. We're not Ipswich. We're not going to be some machine. We're still going to make mistakes. So if you want to say maybe that there could be some kind of title fights that could still be there, maybe you can have a conversation. But I don't think realistically there's any way that both us and Sheffield United will be above you this year. So if it's first or second, either way, I think you're going up. That's just the way I see it. I just think that we're not good enough to do to win 5 games in a row or to like go on some mad run of games without slipping goal here or there. So that's just the way I see it. I think you're too far ahead. Like, what is it now? It's 8 points with 11 games left. Well, we've got a game in hand, but we'll probably draw against. Who was it? It was a game in hand. It would be Cardiff away.
We'll probably draw. Yeah, they love a draw. Evening all, says Steve. Hi, Paul. Let's have a look. Oscar, that Barnet. Oscar, you've been dragged through with that.
I know. Get stick here.
Need to stick the hat back on, mate. Evening, Conor. Evening, lads. If Cardiff beat Burnley tomorrow night, our point on Saturday becomes a golden point. Yeah, I mean, I to be honest, I see Burnley winning that. I don't see Burnley having any sort. Well, it's a very Burnley 1-0. I see down there. Liam, just what's your immediate thoughts on that, mate? The Cardiff game, you're just seeing you seem like you don't really know. It could be a draw. It could be a win. You can't really put your finger on it, to be honest.
I think there'd be some kind of fight because we lost against Preston in the Cup. We had, it was Burnley fans are coping a bit, saying that, we played our B team. And we did play, rotate some players, but the team was still more than good enough to give a better performance than what it did. It was still a really bad performance. So I don't think that's a good enough of an excuse, really. But I do expect some kind of response. We're going to be having Trafford back and goal. Egan Riley, going to have probably Stoughton Edwards. So I think we'll probably get a result down there. Away from home isn't even where I'm concerned about. It's just against teams at home that you'd think that you should be beating, like Portsmouth or whoever else. Like we got up next, Luton at home. I'm scared about them, I'll be honest with you, honestly. Like or Bristol City at home, it's be a 0-0 draw. It's games like that I think is just an obvious hiccup for us. So yeah, Cardiff, I think we get a result because some kind of response. But yeah, I don't think we're enough threat to you guys to be in any sort of conversation of being above in the table, realistically, and neither for Sheffield United. Honestly.
Do you think there'll be anything like this, Liam? Riley's just said, I'm curious to see how Burnley look now. They need to chase points and may open themselves up a little bit at the back. Do you think it's gonna get to a case of, look, you've scored, was it 2-0 against Hull? You beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-0, didn't you? And normally we're used to looking at Burnley and it being 0-0 or 1-0. Do you think there's something to that where there's gonna have to be a point where they sort of, release that handbrake a little bit and think, do you know what? That top 2's still in sight. Let's go for it. Let's just release our inhibitions and go for that 2 or 3.
2 words for you, mate. Scott Parker.
What? Talk to me about Scott Parker, because there'll be people in the chat, Liam, me to an extent. Tell me a little bit about Scott Parker in terms of a manager. What is he all about? What's his philosophy? What's his ideology, all this sort of stuff? And what's he like? What does he come across as? Is he a likable figure for Burnley fans?
It's such a tough one because I think because we've been so used to Sean Dyche for all these years, he's almost a polar opposite to a Sean Dyche in a way, in his personality. In terms of the football, it's not that different really. But when it comes to the likability of him, like you kind of want to get behind him, and he's got involved in the community. He's doing all the right things. But mate, when you're seeing 11 0-0 draws in a season, you just want to rip someone's head off sometimes. Like Scott Parker, he's someone that wants to make sure that if you can't win the game, don't lose it. So to make sure that you are completely, it's like how he played against you guys. It was completely safety first, and we play against that if it's against Leeds or if it's against Hull at home. We play the same way. And it's always making sure that the team complete defense as a unit where the attack is also the defense. And it's really smart how he's done it. It's great. It's efficient. 12 clean sheets in a row still ongoing now in the league. that is genuinely insane. In the Championship, like not just a mad long shot screamer from somewhere going in, not some bullshit deflection or set piece. That's remarkable. So respect to him for that. I think that it's just the fact of the matter is you kind of just want to see a bit more. You do want to, because you know these players are better than what they are. That's the way I see it. I think these players are better than what they are. We've seen them do better in the company. And it just feels like, are you comparing the team that we had last time round? And it's just nowhere near as good. Like Zian Fleming, I just don't know. I'm more concerned about what he could do next year. I think he's a decent striker for the Championship. I don't think he's good enough for Premier League. Jenna Anthony, you had him, probably decent for Championship. He's decent, 6, 7 out of 10, consistent. Would definitely not cut it in Premier League. And that's just the way I see pretty much all the squad other than Esteve and James Trafford. And I want to say Josh Brownhill, but he's never made a cut in the Prem. So I can't even say him. So it's just kind of like we're good based on the money that we had and the quality that we gained by having money in Premier League. But that's the main difference between us being third and us being 15th. That's the only difference I see. Tactically, we'll be 15th.
How do you see them, Oscar, from an outside perspective, Burnley?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a much difference in terms of Burnley and Sheffield United. I think Burnley are a little bit better defensively. Sheffield United are a little bit better going forward. I think the actual net between the two teams is not very different. And I do agree with Liam. I do still think we're going to win the league. But I think in terms of Burnley and Sheffield United, it's going to go to the last game of the season. I do believe that. Unless something dramatic happens with either team, I just see it all the way that both teams will be around a point or two of each other. But yeah, with Burnley, I think obviously Edwards coming in, it'll be interesting. I think obviously he's sort of seen a little bit of an impact already against Sheffield Wednesday. High quality goal from him. Top quality player as well, by the way. In terms of, I remember going to Lisbon about 2 years ago or so, and he was literally the star boy of that Sporting Lisbon team kind of thing. They absolutely loved him. Sporting Lisbon. So I don't really know what's happened.
Absolutely. I absolutely hate that word. Sorry. I just hate that word.
I couldn't actually, what, star boy?
You mean it was star boy?
I couldn't think of another word.
Oh, come on, mate. Are you 50? Come on.
Do you know what it is? It's been demonized by AFTV saying it about Saka after every video. Saka, Starboy. Oh, no.
Wait, but you also use the word XG, right? You'd be like, oh, Starboy, XG, all these youths and their fucking nonsense online. Jesus.
But anyway, he's a top quality player at this level for me. Again, it's whether Burnley can sign him and whether he can make a step up to the Prem is another question. But yeah, I think the defensive record is phenomenal. You can't take that away from Burnley at all. You can't take that away from Parker as well. Obviously, James Trafford's been a massive, massive factor as well behind it. I think in terms of every single number going sort of suggests that Burnley probably should have conceded more than they have done. But fair play, you've got, I would genuinely say, I think James Trafford's, I think it might be a little bit too crazy to say he's the best keeper I've ever seen at this level, but he's easily top three. Easily top three, and might well be.
That may piss you off.
Okay.
I think I said this last time when I came on with you, Conor. But like, if you replace James Trafford and with Melier, you guys will be 6 points ahead.
Six.
Seven. You would gain another 6-7 points away, or 5. I don't know whether you judge it. But you'd be definitely much more further ahead now, James Trafford.
James Trafford in goal this season. This isn't me having to go at Melier, by the way. It's just how good Trafford is. I actually genuinely think there's a world where you could say Leeds, in the games we've lost this season, Leeds could be unbeaten at this point in the season. If you look at the games we've played this season, the goals are conceded. Genuinely, we've only lost 3 all season, to be fair. Though it's that crazy to say Trafford could have made a difference in the 3 games we have lost. Genuinely, that is how good I think Trafford is, to be fair.
Yeah, Trafford's. But you just look at that double save. That double save against Sunderland in the last minute, where he's just the 2 penalties and it's clutch. It's a clutch moment, and that's the thing. Keepers like that save you points. It's massive. The goals prevention is obviously on plus. Melier, I think he's on like plus 1 yet. 1 at the minute, and Cooper. To be fair, Cooper's very good at Sheffield United. I do really, really rate him. So he's a decent keeper as well. So that's the difference. I think both teams.
Would I be called a fake fan that when the penalty got given for the second goal, I went to bed? I went to bed, and literally I only found out that he saved it like 30 minutes later when my phone was just fucking going mad. And then I realized, like, oh my God. Like, but I thought, what's the odds of a keeper saving back-to-back penalties in one game? Come on. I thought, okay, there's no way you can screw this up. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Trafford more importantly because last year he was ripped into a lot because there was an entire Muric versus Trafford debate. There was, in the Burnley fan base, it was massive. Like, the idea is basically if we had Muric in goal from day one, Burnley would have stayed up last year. And there's a genuine core belief in a lot of the fan base, even now to this day, that if we had Muric from day one, we would have stayed up. Because Trafford was probably a bit too young to be thrown in deep in the Premier League. You know, physicality-wise, he didn't have the confidence. He's not got the aerial presence. And there was times he made a lot of mistakes. Trafford, I'm really happy for him that he's had this moment, and thank God he stayed with us to kind of build that confidence and kind of to feel more like himself again. So I'm buzzing for him because I think because he knows me and my YouTube as well, I think he's personally pissed off with me because of them. So since then, I've been trying to really get back in his good books. So, you know.
So you're a PR man.
I'm hoping to get a flow back from him on Insta one day. Then I'll know that I'm good. So I'm still
you heard it here first. Liam's a sellout. John says, my personal preference is us and Chef you up as auto. Burnley in the playoffs would be absolute hell. Burnley in the playoffs it'd almost be Huddersfield style where they just don't score a goal and get thrown penalties. I could genuinely see that.
To be fair, it works though in the playoffs. A lot of teams that won the playoffs, Forest as well under Steve Cooper, quite similar kind of vibe. It works in the playoffs. So just whether you can get top two playing that way, it's hard to say, but the team you're chasing, Sheffield United, also play the same way, so it can work this season, I think.
Definitely. I guess the big game towards the back end of the season, Liam, and it's going to decide a lot, and you've got the advantage, you've beaten them already this season, and I thought you were the better team on the night, to be honest with you. It's Sheffield United at home, isn't it? And that does feel like it's a pivotal game. 3 games to go. That one feels absolutely massive, doesn't it, in terms of that top 2?
Yeah, it is. Did you two answer when I asked earlier about who would you rather go up between us two with you?
I don't really have a massive preference, to be honest. I'd like you. I'll say Sheffield United because I want a Yorkshire derby in the Premier League. I think the Premier League does need a Yorkshire derby there, but that's probably the only reason why. But that also means when you've got a choice between Chris Wilder and Scott Parker, it's not a great choice to have. But from that point of view, it probably will be Scott Parker because we've got a little bit less beef with him. So yeah. I don't really know. It's kind of see it both ways. Probably I'll go Burnley just because Chris Wilder missing out on promotion on the last game of the season that'd be glorious. That
I'll say Burnley because Liam's on.
But also that as well.
He was a sellout now.
But I do genuinely think we'll all go up, mate. I think we'll all will. I think worst case scenario, I think if both of them, like, you know, even if look, us in the playoffs, that's when we wouldn't go up. That's why we have to stay in the top 2. But I think either one of you two get into that playoff sphere, I think you'll go up. I tell you what, though, Sunderland might be a bit of a problem. They could be a bit of a problem if they get Mundo playing, if they get obviously Alan Brown back fit and firing, if they get Enzo Lefebvre back. Maybe before the playoffs, I would not want to come up against Sunderland. There'd be a bit of a problem in the playoffs, I think.
I hate to say it as well, Coventry a little bit as well. I think this idea that Frank Lampard is suddenly the best English manager, all these kind of different narratives, they've just got really good players, to be fair, Coventry. Not like sort of Burnley or Leeds style players, but they have got good players to this level pretty much across the team. So again, I'd say them and Sunderland would be ones you wouldn't want to play in the playoffs. I think everyone else, whoever gets that 6th spot all day long, Sheffield United or Burnley or even Leeds, should be beating that team and finishes in 6th and quite handsomely in the playoff semi-final.
Are we all sort of, Liam, I'll put it to you as well. Stephen's not happy. He says,
Stephen, this is stupid.
And Liam, everyone was, sorry, not just Liam, but Stephen in particular, everyone on this channel, and I think everybody in the general sphere as well was talking about how good Sunderland have been. So they've always got the flowers, Sunderland. I feel like everybody just generally is giving them the flowers. But what I would say is, just because maybe Leeds have dropped a point, Burnley have obviously gone out in the FA Cup at the weekend, I still think your week where you lost to us and you lost to Hull was massive. I think that was absolutely massive. I think that's kicked you out the race, to be honest. Liam, what are your thoughts on Sunderland, mate?
I said it's stupid because I'm not really dismissing them as if I don't rate them. My main thing is they're just simply they're a very exciting young team and they've got some extravagance to them. But with most young teams, it does come with inconsistency. It does come with games like the whole game where you just are not at it. And with a team like that one game can be really good and players are firing. Isadore's great. And, I just think that at this moment, it is expected that you'd be a bit inconsistent, especially if Lefebvre is going to be out for, what is it, like a few weeks or so? And there was the centre half as well, wasn't it? As well, what's his name? Mepham?
Ballard, Dan Ballard is out for a while, isn't he?
Jesus, yeah, Ballard. Yeah, so with those two out, can you really imagine Sunderland making some, winning 5-6 in a row, pretty much? I can't see it. It's not because you guys are particularly bad. You got some good attacking players there, but it's just inconsistency. That's what the championship is all about. That's why Burnley are where we are, because we've not lost since, I think it's October now.
And Liam, is that the point as well? It's the fact that you look at Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United have lost 4 or 5 games. You've got Leeds who've lost 3, and I think Burnley have lost 2.
Sheffield they lost 6. Surprisingly,
is it 6? Is it 6?
Yeah,
oh, okay, right. Okay,
you lost 2. You lost 3.
Well, there you go. So you kind of, I mean, especially with Leeds and Burnley, when you're just looking at those in particular, if you are a Sunderland, you're looking at a massive turnaround. I mean, losing 2 games in 33 and 3 games in 34, I think we've had now is, I mean, that's some feat. You're looking at a ratio, Oscar, aren't you? Really turning around toward the back end of the season with 11 games to go.
Yeah, they've got to do something crazy. Sunderland, they've got to literally, if not win every game, win sort of 10 out of 11 or 9 and draw 2 kind of thing. Even that's probably not going to be enough without Burnley or Sheffield United really dropping off, or even Leeds dropping off. And I just think the style of play, I think with Leeds, the quality we've got individually, the fact we've got Daniel Farke there, could be famous last words. I think over 2 months, I don't think we're going to drop off that badly, in terms of bad enough that it's going to kind of bring Sunderland back into it. Burnley, Sheffield United, the way they play, they can always pick up sort of 4 points out of 6 over a season kind of thing. They're not going to go for a spell where they're absolutely terrible, and not going to go for a spell where they're absolutely brilliant. They're just going to kind of be on a flat line pretty much all season kind of thing. I think that's just the nature of what Scott Parker and Chris Wilder teams are at this level. I think it's never too high, it's never too low, because they just don't concede many goals. That is the fact of the matter. I think with Sunderland, they're involved in a lot of end-to-end games. I think physically, it starts to tell on them a little bit. I think people like Bellingham, for example, it is having to cover a lot of ground every single game. You've seen it in both games against us. That's going to start to tell on form individually because it's a very young team as well. I've got to remember with Sunderland in terms of the mentality side of things. Physically, they don't tend to rotate too much. They obviously had that injury to Mundle as well, so they've had to kind of come up with makeshift options at left wing. Lefebvre getting injured is another blow for him. Anthony Patterson's form has dropped off a cliff since the second half of the season.
He's been sort of prime Melee levels at the minute, hasn't he?
I thought first 18 months at this level, I thought solid, but he has really dropped off badly dropped off, and that's not going to help Sunderland's case either, because I don't think they've ever been that great defensively. I think they have needed Patterson in the first bit of the season to make big saves for him. That's not happening now, and I'm not totally ruling out they'll get promoted, but it's not going to be via top 2. It's going to be via the playoffs and coming up with something over them 3 games in the playoffs. They can still go up, no question about it, but not for the top 2.
I thought of a little thought experiment for you two here. Between the Burnley team and let's say the best Burnley 11 and the best Leeds 11, like which Burnley players would you put into your best 11?
Right, I'll give you mine because I'm doing this tomorrow. Number one, Trafford.
Yeah. Okay.
Trafford and that's it. No, I'm joking. No, Trafford gets in right back. I'm sewing up Bogle.
Yeah.
I would give you, because this season, to be fair, has Esteve been out? Esteve was out for a period, wasn't he? Was he out for a period, or has he been playing all the season? I thought he was out.
I'm pretty sure he's been playing the entire year. Maybe he's out for like a game or so. But
was he? Right. Okay, I've got that one wrong then. But yeah,
he played 34 games he started in. So
wow, fair play. I got that one wrong then.
He's only missed 3 then in that case.
Well,
so no, there's none.
So this season, I would say, because Pascal's been out for a period of time, and I think Joe Rodon's gone to another level this year, I'd go Joe Rodon and Esteve. Left back, Bashir Humphries has been good, but I'm just going to go for bias, and I'm going to give it. Can you just put one burn the defender in the back 4 with that defensive record? It's tight between him and Bashir Humphries, I think. But I go for.
You mean Firpo and Bashir Humphries?
Yeah.
It's Firpo.
Really?
It's purple. Like, okay, Humphreys is a centre half at trade, right?
Yeah.
And he's just playing there because that's why Parker likes him, because he's basically centre back as a left back, basically. But he's got the physicality, he's got the athleticism to also go up and down the pitch. That's why he likes him, basically. Like, he's not a fullback, but he's like, it's like how. It's not how like City plays the centre half. Like, City have like centre backs and fullback, aren't they? So it's
Liam, we played Strauch at left back. That's probably a good comparison at points.
Yeah.
So that was under Jesse Marsh, though.
Yeah, it was under Jesse Marsh.
Which is a big bit of context.
So Oscar, I need your help here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably
but I'm gonna finish mine, mate.
Probably agree up to this point. With what you've said so far.
So if we're going to a 4-2-3-1, I'd say on the right has to be Dan James, who's been incredible.
I would be slightly different here. Okay, I'd be slightly different.
Right. Okay.
I'll throw something I would actually, from what I've not seen Edwards so far for Burnley, apart from that Sheffield Wednesday game, but from what I've seen of Edwards throughout his career, I'd probably have Edwards on the right, James on the left, and that will get me probably a lot of criticism in the comments now. But genuinely, I think Edwards is top class.
I don't think there's any debate in that. I mean, I only saw him live for one game, but he's way too good for this league. Like,
he is.
So I think you've got to have Edwards in there.
Well, I was more talking about form this season. But yeah, okay. If we're going over actual player quality, then yeah, you probably have an Edwards in there, aren't you? CAM. I mean, I don't know if can you classify Josh Brownhill as a CAM? I don't really know.
I did think of Brownhill.
His best position is number 10. Like, he does not play well in midfield 3, behind number 10. He's the best. He's got know-how. He knows how to be at the right time. That's his best trait. He's got the intelligence, and that's where he's the best at. Like, how many goals has he scored this year? Like 12?
Yeah, he's your top scorer. He's got most assists and most. So you've got to go Brownhill. You've got to go.
I know that he's our top goal scorer, but yeah, it's just 10. I thought it was like more than 10. But like, he's just got to know how. But like, he's not a centre mid in the same way. Like, I was watching the pressing game in the weekend in the FA Cup. I watched the first 30 minutes. It took me, I swear to God, I didn't even realize he was on the pitch until the 30 minutes. I was like, holy shit, there he is. Like a free kick happen or something. I did not notice him because he played deeper because Sarmiento went as a 10. So, and by the way, just because I wanted to say, Sarmiento, I don't know what he is, by the way. I expect so much more from him. He's like, when you watch like a YouTube compilation where like you see them do something cool for like 3 seconds and then you see just the clip just cuts at a random awkward moment. That's Sarmiento's a footballer. He does this really cool flick and then he just shits it every time and just doesn't know what to do next because he's got no composure. It's so frustrating. So
on a compilation, a player's not that good when the first sort of 10 or 15 seconds of the compilation are just the player walking on and off the pitch and things like that and just zooming in on the play. You're not actually seeing any of the football pitch. You're not actually seeing him touch a ball until like the first sort of 10, 15 seconds. I remember seeing one on Sarmiento with exactly that. And he has got one kind of trick. It's cutting on that right foot and just getting shots off. And it doesn't really come off that often either.
So this is the longest combined 11 of all time, but I'd go Brownhill at 10, and then and then it's Peru up top. So I'd see Trafford in there, Esteve, Brownhill. Is that it? No,
I take it the consensus. Edwards, Naka, midfields, just to check.
Did we do central? Oh, did we do CDM? Have we just glossed over CDM?
Yeah, I think we did. I mean, I would personally say I think Cullen should be in there. Like, I'll say Cullen and Tanaka.
Okay.
I do like Cullen. I do really like Cullen, but
I don't know if Tanaka are two similar of players or like the two similar roles. I don't know. Yeah. Because he wants some kind of balance in there.
Would Rothwell get into your team, Liam?
I'll be honest, I've not seen enough of him to really make a pure judgment. I'll be honest with you.
I think Rothwell probably gets in every other team in the Championship for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to make a judgment based on, Cullen's better than him, because I've not really seen him enough to really say that.
Yeah, different players, very different players, but I think he'd give you something from that defensive. Who is your pivot? Is it Cullen and Hannibal?
I don't really know at this stage many changes. It's Cullen with Josh Laurent and then Brown as a 10.
Oh, Laurent, yes.
It's a trio of Joshes, basically. It's a Josh trio.
Yeah, he's a big lad as well, Josh Laurent, isn't he? He's a big lad.
Yeah, that's why we kind of like him. He's got that physicality, but like he can drive on with the ball, like, progressive up the pitch, but his passing range is like it sometimes you kind of get why he costs us $500,000.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Barker doesn't care that Tanaka and Grove play similar roles. Yeah, definitely. Long throws to Ballon d'Ors. Let's have a look. It depends who the manager is. Firpo with Farker, Humphreys with Parker.
That's true, to be fair.
Yeah.
I
don't think
even the league itself as well, in terms of Firpo defensively, if you defend him against Mo Salah, I mean, whoever you play at left back, it's not going to be a great answer, but you probably would go for Humphreys over Firpo in that scenario. But in this league, yeah, I'd have to say Firpo as well.
So Liam, how from very, very recent experience, more recent experience than us, albeit it's not been long, I think it's a season difference, but how do you think all three teams go up? Whoever the teams are, but let's say just for the debrief sake, just for argument's sake, it's us, you and Sheffield United, and or Sunderland to keep Stephen happy. How do you survive? It's got to be almighty luck, obviously, but almost has it got to be like literally 12, 13, 14 out of 10 recruitment? And I mean, it's because the divide right now, so you've done a video on it, the divide right now seems to be absolutely massive. It's getting bigger and bigger every single season. You've seen teams down there. I mean, I looked at West Ham were playing Leicester the other day, and I was watching it. And at the time of recording, West Ham were like 15th, and they're not in any sort of worry of going down. And I don't think Wolves are right now, but they're comprising of those positions outside the relegation zone, just full of internationals. The bench full of internationals, full of just insane quality, and it's just. I don't know, mate, because even the recruitment, it feels that even if you get it spot on, you're just fighting a losing battle, aren't you? And that's obviously with the regulations in the Premier League and how bad the trickle down effect is. I mean, how do you go about it, mate? What are your overriding thoughts?
Are you religious?
No, unfortunately.
Just pray to whoever you believe in at that stage.
Is it that bleak? Do you think it's that bleak, Liam? Do you think it's that bleak? Do you think
I
it's just
don't know.
a losing battle?
It can't be that bleak because, like, look, even before us, Sheffield and Luton, went down the year prior, I don't think any of the promoter teams went down. Like, Fulham stayed up, Bournemouth stayed up, and Christ, who was the other team that stayed up?
Forest, yeah.
Forest. So, I mean, it was only 3 years ago where it was possible. So, surely it can't be that hard, right? Like, what did they do so well that Forest was different because they were the outlier. They basically had what was a championship team that had an amazing run of form, and they stayed up based on loan players. So they had to buy, how much was it, like £180 million or something in the summer, plus a ton of loans to even try to stay up, and they did it scraping. Bournemouth and Fulham, they're just the ones that you got to try your best to try and see what they did. And basically, they had what was a pretty good Premier League team, went down with what was still, in Fulham's case, was still half a good, pretty decent Premier League team. You have Mitrovic in the goddamn championship, for Christ's sake. And, they are Harry Wilson. There's some really good players down there. Fabio Carvalho. So they just kept that foundation and then just worked in the next year. I just don't know what the step is. I really don't know, because the reality is it's not about how much money you spend. We spent 120 million last year. We were dog shit. Ipswich this year, they spent 109 million. They got 3 wins all season. So, and Leicester, they went to in a different way, spent about 70 million, and they're still really poor. And they had a pretty good team last year, as you guys saw. They probably had players that probably shouldn't have been down there, and they're still poor. So, I don't know, man. Like, you just need a really good manager and a complete focus on what you believe in. You got to have a core value in what you believe in, and everyone has to be in it. And I thought Ipswich would have been that. I thought Ipswich would have been a team that could have maybe proved people wrong, but it's just too much of a gap for them to really make that. Look, when they go down next year, they got some good players that you'd think would really do well in Championship. What their young players take another year. Delap and Hutchinson, they may stay and then completely smash it next year. They'll tear it up next year if they stay. So I don't know.
Mate, do you not think it's crazy on the 3rd of March that we're talking like this? We're talking like, I mean, Ipswich next season in the Championship, they'll come back. I just find it shouldn't really be like this, but it is. And like you said, that's just the difference, isn't it, in the parity between the leagues, really, and that's the problem.
How good do you think Southampton would be next year? Because they'll go down. So how do you think they'll do
next year?
Yeah, in the Championship.
they'll end up being dependent on how many players they lose. Are going to recruit the best in the division. They're going to be fine, aren't they? It's going to be the yo-yo effect.
It's just kind of. I
Give
can't
it
really
6 teams
complain.
just keep swapping positions every year. 3 from the Prem, 3 from the Championship. But I do think it's in a cycle at the minute. It is definitely between the leagues. I think it's happened a few times. I think sort of late 2000s, I think it was kind of a similar thing where it was like unthinkable teams could go up from the Championship and start sort of staying up. And then you got like your Swansea's kind of like just coming into the Premier League and, completely sort of ripping that up a little bit. And it's kind of gone back to that in the last couple of years. But I think there is ways of breaking the cycle, if you like. I think first and foremost, I think the mistake the last 6 teams have made who've got promoted, sort of 2023 and 2024, is not prioritise physicality enough. You can't beat. If you're going into the Premier League, you're not going to beat teams with technical skill. You're not very often anyway. Over a 38-game season, you're just not as good technically as even the West Ham who are 15th, or even say a Bournemouth who are just making ridiculous signings. You've got to have some kind of physical power in there. And you even look at, say, the Bielsa first season, Calvin Phillips in midfield kind of thing, just having that kind of difference maker on the pitch. And the way we did recruit in that first season was we went for power and physicality. And then obviously the second season, Phillips got injured and a lot of other things happened as well. And it just kind of fell apart a little bit when we were relying on technical skill to beat teams. It just didn't happen for us. No matter how good Bielsa was, it didn't happen for us. And if you look at, say, Brentford, their recruitment, their best signings have all been powerhouses, essentially, and players that can adapt to the level. I think with an Ipswich as well, I think a lot of the players that brought in are good players. I'm not questioning that at all. I think a lot of the players that brought in are probably Premier League players. For example, Jack Clarke, I think is far too good for the Championship. I think he actually is at the level of a Premier League player. But when you're surrounded with so many players that are project signings, and that's what they are really, Ipswich's signings are all projects. None of them have actually got a full CV in the Premier League where you're sort of seeing sort of 4 or 5 years of being good, not just at Premier League level, but at a similar kind of level. If it's Liga 1, if it's the Liga, if it's Bundesliga, wherever it is, they haven't really got that, the Ipswich players. And I think you've seen with other teams where you've maybe made 1 or 2 signings from the Championship. So for Palace, for example, with Eze,
Elise.
Wharton, players like that. They've just made sort of like 1 or 2 signings in the Championship and then focused all the other recruitment on experience. That's probably the way to go. And that's kind of the direction that the teams that have been successful have gone in. And then the other thing as well is, I hate to say it, but there is a bit of luck involved as well. Because when you're recruiting at the Championship level, it's a lot easier than it is at Premier League level because you've got competition with those players.
You got to have a striker as well, Oscar. You got to have a striker.
Delap probably should have been more key for Ipswich than he has been. I think that he's been absolutely fantastic. He's probably been the big success story for him. He should have been seen as kind of like their Tony in terms of what everything's built around. He's still doing his part, but the rest of the team just isn't for him, if that makes sense. And that is the thing. I think you've got to have, not every signing you're going to make is going to be a hit, but the big ones, the big ones, like say your Morgan Gibbs-White, your Eze's, those big sort of high-risk signings, they've got to come off. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Forest wouldn't have stayed up sort of 2 or 3 years ago if they didn't make that Gibbs-White signing. When they signed him for 45 million, I'll be honest, hands up here, I didn't think he was anywhere near a £45 million footballer. But sometimes when you do take that risk with the big signing and it comes off, it can be the difference between staying up and not staying up. And there is obviously luck involved as well. I think both ends of the pitch, though, goalkeeper and striker, they've got to be difference makers. They've got to outperform the metrics. Your striker's got to be massively overperforming his XG, and your goalkeeper's got to be saving your goals, literally saving your goals. Otherwise, I would love to see the stats on it. I would be amazed if any of the teams that have come up over the years have got a situation where the striker's not overperforming XG and the goalkeeper's not making more saves than he should be making. I've been amazed if the team's been successful.
Well, we've had XG and we've had Starboy on this stream, so I think we're going to have to just kibosh this channel.
There you go.
Stephen says, which strikes in the Championship would take you to the Prem? Any or not good enough? I think probably the only one I'd look at. I mean, Liam. I mean, the only one I'd probably look at and think maybe would be Isidore.
Yeah.
I just don't think the quality is that great in this division. Don't know what your thoughts are on it, Liam.
I just think it's not to judge because he's playing as championship defenders. I just don't think he has really the composure and kind of the technical side of it there. He's got the work rate, he's got the character for it, I feel like, but just the like it reminds me of like Lyle Foster, because Lyle Foster has the physicality, he's got the work rate, he's got the passion you need. It's just the technical ability and the composure at the right time. And I don't know if he'd be consistent enough against Premier League players where he's going to get very limited opportunities, worse quality opportunities. So I just think it's just a massive gap to try to make that divide. I got something to show you because I made a purchase on classic football shirts like around Christmas time. You two can keep talking. I'll just quickly get it, but I think it may make your day. So just give me 1 second.
All right, mate. Yeah. Get some Oscars, just some brief answers because we've got a lot of questions to get through, mate. Hey, Conor, should Leeds get promoted? Do you think they have already deals lined up? I mean, good question from Mike. What do you reckon?
Yeah, probably players we've seen this season. I think in terms of players that I always remember Victor Orsa made that statement in 2020, the cream of the championship. And to be fair, I won't agree with Victor Orsa on many things. There are certain players who can make the step up from the championship to the Premier League. I think Chap McCanty is one who I've seen this season. Isidore's maybe a bit more borderline, but there's a few players who I think can maybe make the step up from the championship. But as I say, you only want 1 or 2 at the absolute most from championship. The rest of it's got to be experience. I'm not saying build a squad like Neil Warnock of 30 and 35-year-olds, but I do want powerhouses in there. I do want powerhouse energy. And
you want Ricardo Fuller. That's what you want.
Ricardo Fuller back in the day, late 2000s, under Tony Pulis, Rory Delap on the long throws. Just get Tony Pulis in to head the recruitment, not the management side of things, just the recruitment, and just start to sign the whole team. You can't play for Leeds if you're not 6'2" as well. You've got to have rules in place.
What was the other one? It was it Fye and what was the other one?
Glenn Whelan, another classic sort of Tony Pulis player.
Was it Olofinjana? Was it Olofinjana? Absolute beast.
The championship team. Yeah, Olofinjana.
Right, Liam, go on then. What is it, mate?
Yeah.
No, you know who you need? Yakubu. I don't know why. Like a match stats growing up. I don't know why, but like for some reason, Yakubu and Joseph Yobol from like Everton back in like 2005 or 6, just days in my head went free. I don't know why. Okay. So I went to classic football shirts around Christmas time, and I was looking for some sweet deals, and I found 2 things here that was like so cheap that it was like £4. Someone's gonna fucking screenshot this. I know they will.
Make sure you do. Make sure you do.
Got this.
Hey, the worst training kit. The worst.
Mate, it's got a fucking sponsor in it too, and it's like, mate, it's like this was £4.99. I was like, I want some quarter zips. I just want to play football in it. And it's like, I got to training. I was like, this is too fucking cheap and it's authentic. So I was like, okay. And also, I saw a pair of just Leeds shorts for £1.99. It's just like, yes, I'll take a pair of them.
Mate, I think that's the same season.
I don't even know what year this was. Was this your relegation season?
This was diabolical relegation. I
think I found out why this was £4.99 on classic football shirts.
Mate, that absolutely stinks of Weston McKennie. It might even be match 1. But yeah, terrible.
Yeah, I think it is actually.
Well, I'll tell you what, lads, we'll leave it there. We're just coming up to the hour mark. Thanks everybody in the chat for coming along. We've had over 1,000 people in here on all platforms. Make sure you're always heading on over to YouTube, because Facebook and Twitter users don't get the benefits of being a YouTube user over here. So make sure you come on over, and yeah, guys, we'll see you on the other side. We'll be back next Monday for the debrief. Liam, thank you so much for joining, mate. Hopefully it's not the last time. You've got a good reception there. I know you come on the channel a lot, and even John Mallett has said great, informative entertainment as always. And guess what, John? That donation, mate, is more than what Liam's paid for his Leeds United merchandise. So there we go.
I think I realised none of you fuckers are paying for this season's stuff. So imagine, and now it makes sense now.
Nah, mate, really appreciate you coming on. And Oscar, as always, man, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure as always, mate.
And guys, we'll see you on the other side. Cheers.